What's up, everybody? It's JVC. So, I'm going to be sharing something with you all here today that requires me to be very brave. And nervous as I may be, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because my mom told me to. And I love and I trust and I respect my mom more than anybody on the planet. And she's never led me astray. So, here we go. I'll be sharing a part of myself, a side of myself with you all that I've really never shared with the world before, aside from my mom, a handful of very close friends, my therapist, and my agent. So here on this channel, Conversations with Others, I'm going to be tuning the vibrational frequency of this channel to a bit of a higher frequency as I share a new series of videos with you all that I'm calling Conversations with Consciousness. So I am what people in the spiritual community, in the spiritual world, would refer to as an intuitive channel or a channeler. And this is an ability or a skill that I've had access to my whole life since childhood, but I never really understood the depths of it or what it was. It frightened me for a large part of my life, so much so that when I would have experiences as a child, I never told anybody about it except for my mom. I never told my siblings, I never told my friends. It was always very confusing. And although the events themselves were objectively not scary to the mind of a child, it was overwhelming and it was too much for me to comprehend or digest on my own. And these experiences happen from the time that, as long as I can remember, really 2 and 3 years old, and then again in different chapters of my life, specifically from 7 to 10 years old, and then again in my early 20s. And then it's just been over this past year that through the help of a very talented therapist, I've been able to identify and the reality of what has actually been occurring my whole life and gain access to it in a way that I never have before. So if you all are familiar with the terminology of channeling, ultimately we all have the ability to do so. We all have access to it. An analogy that I can use is that we are, we as human beings in these bodies, we are all made of frequency, right? We come into this planet Earth, and we're all like radios, okay? So we all have our own natural frequency that we are attuned to. And we all have antennas that can reach different channels and different frequencies. And some people have an antenna that's a little bit longer than others. Some mediums or channels that people may be familiar with, in this country, at least in the United States. Teresa Caputo, who's the Long Island medium, Tyler Henry, who's the Hollywood medium, they have the ability to tune their antenna or their frequency to the channel of spirits and deceased human beings, people who have lived on this planet and who are no longer here. So our loved ones, they have the ability to connect to them and pass along messages and guidance and wisdom and all of those things. So what I do is similar, but it's not spirits or ghosts that I'm connecting to or speaking to. My antenna goes a little bit higher. It goes to a collective consciousness, a source consciousness. So the most famous or mainstream channeler that people may be familiar with is Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. So she's a woman, Esther Hicks, who goes into a deep meditative state, as I do. And we get really still and our frequency kind of settles and we get into a state of receiving and everything becomes really, really quiet, and it allows space for a different frequency, a different channel to come through us. And for Esther, it's Abraham. It's a collective consciousness of source consciousness, and it's very wise, profound teachings that come through, the majority of which tend to focus and center around the law of attraction. I connect to a source consciousness, a collective consciousness as well. I really just refer to them as higher consciousness or higher self. I also have the ability to connect to different guides of mine that have been with me my whole life, but for the most part, I tend to channel my higher consciousness and my higher self. And this channel has become stronger and stronger and stronger over the course of the past year as I do different channeling sessions with my therapist every month, every couple of weeks. And At first, for me, it was very overwhelming to acknowledge the reality that I have access to this ability and this gift. And as I shared it with my friends and my family, these messages that came through were quite personal and directed to me, advice and guidance. And it was all very loving and very wise and very profound. And as I shared it with them, and because it made a big impact on my life, the most surprising thing to me was that they shared what a profound impact it had on their lives as well. And so I realized that the wisdom that was coming through was very universal, and can be used, the intention of which, that I choose to access and utilize my channeling abilities is to be used for a purpose greater than myself and to help other people gain access to their own frequency of their own higher selves and their own higher consciousness, and help make their lives a little bit easier and their paths a little bit clearer on this journey of life as human beings, because it's confusing, it's challenging, and it's hard, but none of us really have all of the answers. I certainly don't have all of the answers as Jeffrey. When I'm not channeling and I'm not meditating, I'm still just Jeffrey. That hasn't changed, thankfully, and I'm so grateful to still have access to this, the depths and truth of who I am, while also having access to these extraordinary teachers. And that's really what they are. Between Abraham, that collective consciousness, and my collective consciousness of higher consciousness, they're teachers. And I don't necessarily always want to agree with what they have to say, because very oftentimes they're very blunt and very direct with me and tell me the thing that I don't want to hear. The thing that I can never, ever deny, though, as much as I may not want to hear the advice that they're giving me or the guidance they're giving me, is that I can't deny that it's the truth. It's always in my highest interest. It's always to lead me down the path of least resistance. It's always to hide me or to guide me to my higher self. Always. They've never led me astray. Ultimately, how I identify my higher self or my higher consciousness, it's my intuition. It's all of our intuition. Whenever you have that guiding voice within you, it's generally the first voice to speak. It's usually the loudest, and very often it's the voice that we don't want to hear. It's because it's going to tell us to do the right thing, and so often as human beings, we want to do the wrong thing. We want to do the lazy thing. We want to do the low vibrational frequency thing for whatever reason. But it's my intuition that guides me, and my intuition has never, ever led me astray. In fact, whenever they have, especially at the beginning of me beginning to channel, when they would, my intuition would give me advice or guidance. If I didn't listen, something would happen almost immediately that made me regret not listening. And if I did listen, even if it didn't necessarily make sense, or I didn't want to do whatever they were telling me to do or to not do, if I just listened, nothing would happen. Nothing bad would happen. So it's, led to me having the steadfast belief over the past year of really strengthening the muscle and the ability to listen to them and to trust that inner guidance, that they always have my best interest in mind. Always. And yours do too. So all of that said, at this point, my therapist, Sasha, and I have been collecting questions from friends and families and colleagues, big life, universal questions, high vibrational questions. And I go into a meditative state, and Sasha facilitates a conversation and asks me big life questions that me, Jeffrey, could not possibly know the answers to, and higher self answers. And then I come out of the meditation having no idea or memory of what has been said. And I'll listen back to the recordings, and I'm always just so blown away at the messages that come through. They've been very profound in guiding me on this path that I currently find myself on. And as I share them with my friends and family, the result has been very similar. The effect that it's had on their lives has just been, it's been tremendous. So that is my hope in sharing this with all of you, that it will resonate, that you can all take something from it, and that it can help make your journey on this path of being human just a little bit easier. It's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to be into it. Not everybody's going to dig it. Not everybody's going to believe it. And that's okay. The reality is even when I struggled at the beginning of channeling over the past year to believe it, ultimately my opinion, your opinion, anyone else's opinion, it doesn't matter because it hasn't changed anything. I could doubt it, I could second guess myself, I could question myself, but each and every single time I go into these meditative states and connect to my higher consciousness, it's the same channel, it's the same voice, it's the same wisdom, it's the same guidance, it's the same messages, and it's what they refer to as the frequency of truth, the middle frequency. So I return to that space again and again and again every day in my meditations, the frequency of truth, the middle frequency. And much of the teachings are centered around that, teaching people to access their own frequency of truth. So you'll, in many of the videos, you'll hear that reference, the middle frequency. And middle frequency is, which is where we all exist at, the static, which is lower vibrational frequency, and higher frequency, which is that of higher consciousness. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to start sharing videos here with you all, from my channeled sessions of higher self and higher consciousness. So welcome to Conversations with Consciousness.